Welcome back, buddy. I hope married life has made you more mature.
You know, I think I am more mature now.
Okay, good, because a lot has happened since you left and we don't have any time for nonsense.
Good point. What's the first order of business?
Look, I went to Disneyland and I found Buzz Lightyear gloves. Look, it's got the laser and everything. Just because I bought these gloves doesn't make me immature. The fact I got this to go with it makes me immature. But let's drop the gloves just like the Leafs did apparently the second I got on the plane to go to California. Literally, I'm doing that last phone check in the airport Wi-Fi like, okay, Leafs, don't do anything while I'm gone. By the time my plane touched down, they had signed David Booth, fired Dave Poulin, fired Claude Loiselle, and hired a 28-year-old named Kyle Dubas to their front office. In my opinion on it, well, Leafs were a few days late, but that was a hell of a wedding present, dude. And I've been chomping at the bit to talk about it. Mrs. Dangle and I are in California. We're gazing off the Golden Gate Bridge. Isn't this romantic, honey? Yes, it is, and I'm not thinking about anything else, I promise.
Okay.
She's a good sport.
And so is hockey, so let's talk about it.
Let's start with the out. Dave Poulin and Claude Loiselle.
And just when I had learned how to spell Loiselle without looking.
Double S and double L, too bad he's out. No, I don't like to see anybody lose their job, but I'm happy those two are gone from the Leafs. They were part of the old regime, which, well, wasn't working. Old regime not as important as old thinking. While making this video, I went through a little list of their quotes. Loiselle said the dressing room is the most important thing, and that is where Clarkson's impact will be felt. I mean, it certainly wasn't on the ice when he only scored 4 goals. And Dave Poulin were bemoaning the fact that we're a middle-of-the-pack team. 2 years ago, we would have loved to be a middle-of-the-pack team. I know that's the kind of winning attitude I want on my hockey club. Besides the old thinking, they were assistant general managers that, at the end of the day, did not produce a winning team. The Leafs' cap situation has been a mess over the last couple of years. One of the main defenses I've heard over that was it could have been a lot worse. Again, how about that winning attitude? And believe me, nobody was bemoaning the fact that the Leafs were in the middle of the pack. People were bemoaning the fact that if they keep playing the way they do, they're not going to be there anymore. Which ended up being the case. Goodbye. And let's face it, these guys are well established. They've been in hockey forever. They will find jobs very shortly. Actually, what am I saying? Loiselle already found a job. Brendan Shanahan's old gig, and he is going to suspend all the Leafs. Now, who's coming in? Actually, before that, who's staying? Right before I left, we talked about how Cody Franzen was sticking around. I think much to people's surprise heading into the offseason, James Reimer extended for 2 years, and Jake Gardiner for 5! Whoa! Whoa! I thought Reimer was going to be gone, Gardner, Kadri somehow, Phaneuf, somehow you would be traded. We'll start with Reimer. Obviously, I'm happy. To an extent. We saw the way last year went. We saw the way things were unfolding. We heard what was said in the media. But at the end of the day, if they both play to potential, Jonathan Bernier and James Reimer make a hell of a goaltending tandem. Goaltending was the least of the Leafs' problems last year and the year before that. Keeping them together, especially at a price like that, is worth it. Yes, Jonathan Bernier's contract is up at the end of the year, but for this season, James Reimer and Jonathan Bernier make less than $5.5 million combined. The Leafs have an above-average goalie tandem for like $500,000 less than David Clarkson's annual cap hit. And then there's Jake Gardiner. Some people were talking a bridge deal, a smaller deal, 1, maybe 2 years. 5, and then a cap hit that rules. The skill set that Jake Gardiner has for just over $4 million a season for the next 5 years is mwah. You know how JVR's contract is ridiculous? In a few years, maybe as soon as this year, we will look at Jake Gardiner's contract like that. Now, what people will say is because of the super affordability of a contract like Reimer's, of a contract like Gardiner's, they could still be traded. I guess, whatever floats the traffic on your website, but for now, wow. Who's new? We'll start with the players and get to the Wonder Kid. The Leafs make 2 low-risk signings for less than $2.5 million combined. David Booth from the Canucks and Daniel Winnick from the Ducks. Something I heard a lot of people say was, I really hope the Leafs make another Mason Raymond type signing. And I guess what they mean by that is a nice, cheap contract, not necessarily on a tryout, but something around the $1 million range for a guy just looking for a shot. They signed 2 contracts like that last year, Mason Raymond, Paul Ranger, $1 million each. You hit with one of them, it's a success, and they did. This year's edition, David Booth and Daniel Winnick for just a little bit more. Now, David Booth brings with him, obviously, a history of success, much like Raymond did, but some of that success was derailed by injury troubles, just like with Raymond, and they're getting him from the Canucks. Just like Raymond. In fact, maybe I should talk to him about this first, but I think I'm just gonna call David Booth Mayray. I'm at the bar watching the game and Booth scores a goal, like, yes, Mayray! Everyone around me, is the Flames game on? Plus, my buddy and blogger Thomas Drance wrote a little something earlier this summer about the guys that you should target for, you know, a nice cheap bargain. And he gave some past and present examples of both. One was like a depth performing guy with like vague issues people say about him. Another was a, you know, like a career backup goalie with a high save percentage. Someone who can, you know, step in for cheap. And the third third was Daniel Winnick. And number 3 was just Daniel Winnick. Past example, Daniel Winnick. Current example, Daniel Winnick. And then the Leafs signed Daniel Winnick, and I was like, wow, I'm really happy they have Daniel Winnick. Daniel Winnick, Daniel Winnick. More like Daniel Winning, am I right? Okay. The important thing to me is for both of these guys, their underlying numbers are good. And by underlying numbers, I mean, generally speaking, they have the puck more than the opponent does. That is the name of the game. Well, actually, the name of the game is scoring, but having the puck will help you do that. And more importantly, if they do not really work out, if they do not really produce, and there really is no guarantee that they will, at least they won't cost any goals. And they also don't take a lot of penalties. These are the kind of guys you want in your bottom 6 these days. Guys that if they put up 25, 30 points, you go, hey, alright. Put them out there in defensive situations and you're like, hey, alright. And they get you on the power play, you're like, hey, alright. Now, do these guys actually help the Toronto Maple Leafs? Well, I like the team better with them than without them, so yes. No offense to those guys, but you don't sign David Booth and Daniel Winnick and go, alright, next up, playoffs. They are useful pieces that should help the team and should make them better, but there are no guarantees. But the cautious optimism I'm employing is better than what I was employing about a month ago, which was drinking. Oh, because you were celebrating your wedding? Yes, that's why. Now, Kyle Dubas. Now let's talk about how Kyle Dubas confirms something that I've been saying for a while. The Toronto Maple Leafs are on a mission, win or lose, to have the most beautiful team in the National Hockey League. The guy always looks like he's walking out of a Justin Timberlake video. I be on my blue and white, blue. Check it. Wow, this guy's a good-looking executive. He looks great for 40. That's because he's 28. I first heard about Kyle Dubas when he became the general manager of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds of the Ontario Hockey League. At age 25! He even came on the early ancestor of the Steve Dangle podcast, The Steve Dangle Show, at the time. And like 40 people listened to the stream. It was just mayhem. It was pandemonium. He became an NHLPA certified agent at a very young age, a general manager in the Ontario Hockey League at an extremely young age, and now he is an executive in the NHL at a very young age. And people are marketing him as this analytics math wizard. Screw that, because that's dismissive and condescending to everything that this guy has accomplished so far in his very short career. I shouldn't call it short, it's been long. His young career. I highly doubt the Leafs hired him just because he knows math. He knows hockey. And this excites me not just because I know the name and not just because this is an exciting, fresh approach, but because it is something I expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to do. Forget his methods, forget what he believes in. It's been very clear that Kyle Dubas has been on a path for a long time. It's been very obvious that he is a rising star. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, the richest and most powerful team in hockey, saw that. And they now have a chance to bring this guy up through the organization, groom him, maybe learn a thing or two from him. He's the kind of mind you always see some other team signing, and I'm like, why does some other team get that when the Toronto Maple Leafs are not hindered by a salary cap when it comes to executives? Players I get, forwards, defensemen, goalies I get, there's a salary cap, but when it comes to coaches, assistant coaches, general managers, assistant general managers, the guy who does hair and makeup for HBO 24/7, I don't know. I expect the best of the best from the team that can afford it the most. So hey, maybe this is all for naught, maybe he doesn't work out, but you know what? All signs so far point to he's pretty good. So after all of this, can I say that I am fully optimistic heading into the season? I have a rejuvenated belief in the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I think they're going to take us to the promised land and the playoffs and the Stanley Cup and the whole parade. Nah! Well, I mean, I think they're better. Key point, I also don't think they're done. I said that before I left, and I still don't think they're done. Still don't know if they actually plan on keeping Franz, and still don't know if they actually plan on keeping Reimer. There's still lots of trade rumors, and clearly changes in the air. And you know what? The fact that change is in the air with a team that has been really, really bad over the last few years, I like that. And maybe it's just the honeymoon talking, but there is a smile on this Leafs fan's face. Let's hope it stays there.